Welcome to Akweya TV, the home of history, art, culture, and development. This morning, I am bringing to you a special episode about something that should be of interest to you and I. I've got a guest in the studio that has gone to many rural schools, and she has gone to see a lot of things that will be disheartening to you, but also stir you to do something about the state of the primary school in your community. Whichever community you come from, there is something for you to do with respect to education. Why? This is because education is the way we generate manpower for our industries. That's for the present. But for the future, it's also the way we transfer ourselves, our culture, to another generation that will keep society going. And this is why the work this lady is doing is exceptional, and you need to sit and hear from her these amazing things she's doing. So I want you to join me in welcoming a person who studied special needs education, who also has been dealing with a lot of children with special needs. And she has done that in Lagos. She's based in Lagos, but has come all the way to Benue, where she's from, to try and give back to that same community that has done a lot for her. So join me in welcoming Ms. Favour Egbadekwu of 10X Education. You're most welcome, ma.
Thank you, sir.
How did this journey begin? Why did you go into, special needs education and all that trip to interior villages?
Thank you for having me. Okay, so I'm a teacher, and I've been teaching now for close to 17 years. But talking about why I do the things I do, as a teacher, I have a philosophy. And the philosophy is that every child can learn and every child must learn. So for me, teaching and learning is not about a group of people, it's about a child per time.
Okay.
And so I'm so particular about every learner in the classroom because, of course, every learner is unique. And so with my experience of the things I've done so far, working in Lagos, working in Makurdi, both in the administrative part of education, in the classroom, as a special needs facilitator and all of that. So I just saw that there was something unique about every school. And I just thought about going back home to do something about the education of our children.
So you went into all these interior villages, you rode in boats and canoes, you walked through forests.
Yeah.
Take us through that. Were you afraid?
Oh, I wasn't afraid.
Why not?
Yes, because in the first place, when I got this nudge about 4 years ago to go back home to do something, I was afraid. I will tell you this for free. I was afraid about the logistics. I was afraid about how I was going to navigate my way. I was afraid about the numbers when after I did my analysis and how much that was going to be involved, both in cash and in human resource. I was afraid. But when I started the work, all my fears left me. I started afraid though, but when I began the real thing, all my fears left me because of the things I began to see. Began to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. So it was now time to work and no time for fear whatsoever. Yeah.
No time for fear. I would dwell on that fear because, I mean, this is Benue where we hear of kidnappings, we hear of, banditry and all of that. Were you going with some form of security? What was your security measure going to this school?
Not at all. I wasn't going with any security. In fact, you are right. The case in Benue, banditry and all of that. But like I earlier said, there's something that happens to or with a visioneer when you have a vision. That vision encapsulates you, and that is what just keeps you going.
Yeah.
Yes, there were times that I even got calls, people who were so concerned about me, my superiors, my mentors. Favour, I hope you are looking at the security situation and all of that. Yes, I heard all of that, but I didn't really pay much attention to it, not because I was careless, but like I said earlier on, the work was much, and that was what propelled me. I was asking questions though. Okay, how do I need to get to this particular place?
Yeah.
How safe is this place and all of that? There were times I got very devastating answers, but I still went all the way. Answers like, okay, this community you're about to go, this community have been, bandits have been here like 3 times, and the school is not even in existence. No child is in that classroom, blah, 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 and all of that. So I got a lot of negative news, but the zeal and the passion just was what surpassed all of that. And of course, for me not to forget, the hand of the Creator over me, his guidance and all of that. I don't take that for granted at all.
Yeah. You went to a school where you were there in October, but learning had not happened for many months.
Yes.
Tell us about that one too.
Okay, so I was in a community where the school is so deserted. And as at when I got to that school, the last time learning took place there, obviously, was in July. The whole place was in a mess. If I had to chase goats and other animals to be in that classroom, there was molehills everywhere. Everybody was just gone. No one child in that classroom. And it was terrible.
Did anybody explain why?
Yes. So because of the situation the Benue State education sphere has had for some years now, all of that has culminated into the death of most of the public primary and even secondary schools.
Wow.
Because yes, there was a time where, if you recall, Benue State their school system didn't work for like a year plus. Children were at home, and after all of that, it affected the schools. Parents had moved their children to public schools, and then even when they came back, you will also agree with me that Benue State is one state that has suffered remuneration issues.
Yeah.
Salaries are not paid promptly, and even when they are paid scantily.
Yeah.
So no motivation at all. And so these are things that have really contributed and increased daily the death of schools in Benue State.
Okay, as an expert in this area, what's the future implication of this situation you're seeing for Benue and maybe for Nigeria as a country?
The implication of this is massive. What that means is that if we fold our hands and just watch, we are going to have children on the streets in the next 10, 15 years who end up being touts, who do not have sound education, who do not even have education at all. And you see, a man that is not educated is a man that is going somewhere to happen in the wrong way. So because an educated mind is a regenerated mind, what that means is that we're going to be having a lot of chaos in the society. You have youths who are not useful to themselves, not even now talking about being, useful to the other person. Independence value will be so low, the rate of crime in the society will be so high, and then a lot of, wrong things happening. It's I don't even want to imagine that kind of a future. It will be such a disaster.
Wow. When you go to many of the schools, from the pictures I see, you actually even teach in these schools.
Exactly.
Well, tell us about your interface with the children. Were you like, oh, from Lagos, so high up there, and then they were barely able to speak with you. How did you cope?
Oh, okay. So I have a philosophy too, which when I do teacher trainings, I tell teachers about. I said, if you want to teach a child, become like a child.
Okay.
That is the only time you will get the attention of children.
Mm.
So each time I go to the schools, I do not see myself up there at all. I forget about anything Lagos. Because right now I've been in Benue now, this will be the 3rd month. In fact, you should know that somehow I've forgotten about Lagos somehow. So the children, my interface with them has been lovely, because when I go into these classrooms, I see children yearning for so much more that they cannot get from their environment, that they cannot get from their teachers, that they cannot get from the system. So these are children who are so helpless. And, you know, I read their emotional body language, and we just fit in and we have fun most of the time. So
were there some shocking questions you were being asked?
Yes. Oh my God. There have been some shocking questions I've been asked, you know, and that was during the we had a World Teachers Day, and we had a panel session, and I was asking a child, what are the kind of teachers you want to teach you? And what this girl outlined, the adjectives the girl used, I was so baffled. So she wants an intelligent, a current, a loving. Oh my God. And I'm like, oh my God. So it was such an emotional moment for me, because take it or leave it, these children know what they want. It's just that it's somehow difficult to get it. Yeah.
Okay. We'll come back after the break, and we're going to have a conversation with you about why you think there should be a state of emergency declared on education, and then also some of the things you found out in the school about infrastructure and teachers. So for those of you watching, I'm sure you're hearing this amazing conversation. There's a lot more in store. We'll be going on a break, and we'll be right back shortly. Don't go anywhere. You can share this if you're on YouTube, but if you're on NTA, please hop onto youtube.com/Akweya TV and share this video. If you're on TikTok, we're also at Akweya TV on all the social media platforms. We'll be right back. Time na money, oh, time na money. They say, time na money, oh, time na money. That is Mike Okri. Yes, if you're organizing your virtual meeting, time is of the essence. Time is money. So as the host of a virtual meeting, be mindful of the different time zones of the meeting. You know, participants, people from different areas are joining this meeting, especially if you have participants from other side of the globe. Choose a time that suits everyone. Some people, it might be late and all of that for them. During your meeting, it's also important to allocate a predetermined time to speakers. You can choose to allocate 2 to 5 minutes per speaker or 3 to 6 minutes per speaker. You choose. This will ensure that you do not spend too much time on one topic and it becomes boring for other participants. Also, let your key participants log on and test their equipment and connections before everyone else to ensure you do not lose time due to bad audio or video. But more on that is going to come in another video. Finally, explore having some participants record their presentations and send the videos to you before the start of your meeting. You lose that professional touch when you do not allocate time and when people are losing time because of technical glitches. So stay tuned for more comms, tips and tricks from ISO Media. Don't forget to kindly follow us on our social media platforms @ISO Media and share with all your professional colleagues in communication and development. Welcome back from the break, and thank you so much for sharing our video. And also do subscribe to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/Akweya TV. Thank you so much for those of you who have already done and you are already sharing. This conversation continues with Miss Favour Egbadekwu and the amazing, she calls herself the phenomenal teacher.
Yeah, I can say that again.
Yes. And you're really doing phenomenal things. You decided that you should also give awards to teachers, and then you had it an Akweya Teachers Assembly. Tell us what inspired those two.
So, I also believe that if you must do anything at all, you do it well. So it's not in the quantity of what you do, but in the quality of it. So as a teacher, you are like a knowledge giver. So what that means is that you must get adequate and sophisticated knowledge. So as a teacher, you should be able to quench the taste of every learner in your class. Because some children are extraordinarily gifted.
Yeah.
But if you do not know how, or if you do not even know what, that is the mastery of the subject you take, how are you going to be relevant in the classroom? And so, as a teacher, I'm a teacher that has invested so much on myself, you know, in attending seminars, attending trainings and all of that. And so that has made me a better version of myself. So I just thought and saw that coming back home where some of these is like a luxury, I could just come and give to teachers for free. And that was how the Akweya Teachers Assembly was birthed, and we had our first 2-day training on the 18th and 19th of August. And it was really a fantastic time we had together as teachers. Yes.
You worked in several categories. It's like there were teachers who had never had any teacher training, and there were some with experience.
Yes.
Which category was more in number?
Okay, so when you talk about the category that was more in number, you have the ones that even have the education of teaching, that maybe went for NCE and all of that, but have not added to themselves for a very long time. And so because the way it's done here in Benue, you find out that most of the teachers, they do not go for these trainings in group. It's either a set is handpicked, maybe the head teachers or something. So the trainings do not go around all the time for whatever reasons, I don't know. So they were more. And you know, the other
the ones who had at least an NCE.
Yes, an NCE, but have not done anything to themselves. That in fact, going for training workshop was somehow novel to them. And I think to also add to that, the private teachers, I would say, were more, because
teachers from the private
schools. From the private schools, because you have this situation of the private school where you have teachers who are not trained. You have a lot of people who have left secondary school and they are now teaching. Yes.
Just secondary school?
Yes, just secondary school. I was in those classrooms and I saw a lot of that. And that in itself is not bad, but the thing there is, there has to be a basic training before you allow any human being enter your class to teach. And so we even had to, you know, we came up with a manual we titled Manual for Beginner Teachers. So meaning that even if you are coming straight from the secondary school, with this manual, we do a basic training for you, and then you can go into the classroom. So after we did that, the other schools also collected the manual, and that is what they are using now. And I've been monitoring that process very well. Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And then you went ahead to organize the World Teacher Day, where you now presented awards.
Yes.
How I know you recognize Mr. Oki, who was the long-serving principal, one of the best principals in Benue State, really, because during his tenure, the Akweya Community Secondary School, the Akpa Community Secondary School, used to win a lot of awards.
Yes.
How did he feel getting recognized?
Oh my God. I'm yet to get over how Mr. Okshi feels. In fact, I was with him just 2 weeks ago and it was still a continuation. And he was like, come again, we need to sit down and talk. In fact, he felt so elated. He was so happy. In fact, you need to see the entourage he came with that day. When he got to hear that, so this was what we're going to do. And, you know, I was meeting him for the first time and he was so happy. In fact, the joy, his joy does not know any bound at all. He was so happy and he's still happy even as I speak to you. Yes.
What does that say? What does that imply to you? Because if people say teacher's reward is in heaven, do you think there's anything more we as a people should do to honor teachers?
There's a lot actually.
Yeah.
Because as a teacher, you are involved in the molding of lives, second per second, minute per minute. So teachers are people that should be respected, that should be given honor. And I think as I'm saying this now, a country comes to mind, the country of Japan. I want to say God bless them so much. That is the only country right now that does not celebrate World Teachers Day on the 5th of October. Why? Because for them, every day is Teachers Day.
Okay.
A teacher walks into a bank in Japan and is given that preference.
Okay.
A teacher goes to the train session. Once he has that badge of his as a teacher, he's given that preference. So they are so, you know, respected and they are so up there that in Japan, if you are not a teacher, you are missing. And so just like I tell people even back here that, you know, if you are not a teacher, you are missing. But it should go beyond just the saying of it. Let it materialize. Let teachers be given the honor that is due them. And just to add to this, is giving a teacher's salary so much. We're not even talking about how much they are being paid yet, because if we want to go into that, that would be a whole lot.
But we should, because you told,
okay,
you told me once that some teachers were being paid 5,000.
5,000, 6,000, head teacher being paid 10,000, even as I speak to you right now.
10,000?
Yes.
Naira, not
Naira,
dollars.
yes, yes.
Now, how does that happen? Why is that? Is that from the state government? Is that from the local government? Who's responsible for this dismal figure?
Okay, so I think that somehow we are supposed to look onto government for a model.
Okay. And
somehow they have failed us in that. And so it's flowing down to even the private sector where it is a one-man business. So everybody is just doing whatever he or she feels is okay for him. So I've seen this in the private setting. I mean, yes. And the privates, they have that problem a lot. They just collect money, even for A schools, because I have worked in Lagos. You'll be shocked the kind of amount of school fees you hear these children are paying. And then you now get to hear how much the teacher's salary is, and you are wondering, what is this?
Is that because it's so expensive to run the schools? Is it you mean you run a school?
Yes. So I think it starts from the mindset.
Okay.
Because most times when they say this school is a very good school, which is relative though, you see people spending money on infrastructure, buildings and all of that, which is important, but they overlook human resource.
Yeah.
And now, because they want to use all of those infrastructure to woo parents, forgetting that even the human resource is more important than what they are doing. So that is the problem. But come to look at the rural setting where, of course, you don't have all those fantastic structures. It's about, okay, how much are these children paying?
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I've been to schools right now that they are still paying 3,000 and is a problem to even pay. And now that is when you have calculated everything, let's say the PTA, the this and that, exam fee and all of that. So in the rural area is more of a bigger challenge because of the resources available to the typical mom or dad that lives in the rural areas. Yes.
So finally, before we go, I know I would love this conversation to keep
Me
going.
too.
But you have said that there should be a declaration of a state of emergency on education. Is it even education just at the primary school level in the rural areas, or which area
at
is your
all levels, beginning from the nursery, that is the early foundation stage, I must tell you, because at the early foundation stage, that is where all the action is. So if you miss a child from that level, it will be very difficult for that child to cope. Then talk about the elementary level. Of course, those are still the formative years where these children get to learn a lot about, reading, writing, social skills, building how to, teamwork and all of that. But you see, even at the secondary level, because just a few weeks ago, I was in a quiz competition and I was so amazed that we had a quiz competition and the school that came second could not answer one question.
Could not answer one question?
Yes.
So how did they come second?
So how they come second is what that adage will be, that, in a land where the
land of the blind, a one-eyed.
God bless you. Exactly. I saw that play. This happened in my presence. In fact, I was amongst the people that were there at the high table. We were like, we are not given this, we are not doing that, but after everything, we also thought about the affective domain of these children, so that at least they will feel okay. So secondary. In those days, my father had a primary 7 and he was a teacher. He could inject, he could do this, he could do that. Now, in a secondary school, you have students, say senior secondary for emphasis, who couldn't answer a question in a quiz competition out of about 6 questions or so. So the emergency should be everywhere, if you ask me.
Okay, so how do we visualize that emergency? Because you seem to have talked about the structures. So are we going to build, and who will do the building? Because government will always say they have no money. So how will that emergency be? Whose hands should be on deck? Who should bring the money? Who should train the teachers? Who should recruit new teachers? What should happen? Who should write new books? How do you visualize that state of emergency happening?
All of this is interwoven, so I won't go listing all of that, but I'll just paint a picture in our minds. And that picture will be a hospital setting where you have different health professionals doing their bid. So when you hear an ambulance coming into a hospital and, you hear the sirens blowing and everything, nobody is sitting down, crossing their legs, trying to, flip their hairstyles. Nurses come and all of that. Everybody is just on the run. All hands on deck. And so that is the picture I want to create right now, because the state that our education is right now is really, 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 and so much more a bad state. So be you governments, be you stakeholder, mom, dad, teachers, everybody has a part to play in this. We cannot leave it to one person. It's a matter of responsibility of all of us, so that posterity will judge us faithful at the end of the day.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ms. Favour Egbadekwu. We really appreciate this enlightening conversation with you, and we wish you all the best in all that you do, and whenever any way that Akweya TV can support, do let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for watching this episode with us. Please share this widely, because it concerns you, it concerns your future, it concerns your children's future. Share this video, and we'd like to hear your comments. What do you think should be done about education, especially in our rural areas? Would like to hear from you. If you want to send us a WhatsApp, 090-44-800-200, you'll get to us. Thank you so much.